To be seen means to be present. We live in such a busy world where we're going and we're going, we're doing and doing. We've become human doings rather than human beings. And so when I look at my life, at the people who saw me, they were people that regardless of what was going on around them, regardless of how busy that they were being or needed to be or wherever they needed to be, they were present in that moment. They made me feel like I was the only thing that mattered in that room. And to me, that's what it means to be seen. When bad things happen to us, we tend to ask, why is this happening? Instead ask, God, what is it you're doing? What is it that you want me to learn? I didn't know that as a kid. We went through a very challenging childhood. My sister and I, our parents divorced when I was 5 and my sister was 1, and we went to go live with my grandparents. And there was a lot of dysfunction. I watched our family fall apart. There was a sense of identity, I guess, that was lost. And you could say that I was looking for the purpose in it, but there was this innate idea that I'm going through this for a reason. There is a greater purpose, and at some point in my life, I'm going to use this to positively impact others. I may have been 8 when I had that thought, and I don't know where it came from or how it happened, but it was such a blessing because it created this silver lining in what was going on. And there was this one pivotal moment, this one day, where we were in a grocery store after school, and there was one of my teachers was standing there, and she turned and she said, "Hi, Davin," and she saw me. For a moment, she saw just me, and it was the first time that I feel like I'd ever been actually seen. And that had a profound impact on my life. I never forget that moment. And then my senior year of high school, we moved from Philadelphia to Michigan, and I became very bitter. I basically threw away my senior year, and for the next 6 years, I was back in that bitterness, that I was back as a child, questioning things. But there was a purpose that God was shaping through all of this. I just couldn't see it yet. And it didn't come clear to me until this one day, 6 years after this, at my first real job at Costco, where I had a decision of surrender to make. I was offered an opportunity to go back to Philly, to actually open the first Costco in Philly, right by my grandparents' house. And I said yes to that decision. I felt like that was an answered prayer. But shortly after I said yes to that decision, I began to struggle. There was something that was uneasy about that. I can hear God saying, listen, if you want to go back to Philly, I've opened that door for you. But if you're willing to give that back to me and let go of all of this pain, of all of this bitterness, of everything that you struggled with, I have a greater purpose for your life. And so the next day I went in and rescinded the job offer to Philly and told them that God told me to stay here. They thought I was crazy. One of the most foundational purpose moments for me at Costco was when I met Jim Senegal. He was the CEO and founder of Costco. And Jim, you know, I learned so much about business from Jim. I remember the first time he came into our store and he reached out and he said, "Hi, I'm Jim. What's your name?" And I said, "I'm Davin." He said, "Davin, tell me, why do you work at Costco? What is it that you love about working here? What are we doing well? What could we be doing better?" It was the best engagement survey that I'd ever seen, before engagement surveys were a thing. But one of the things that I learned was to see people. I felt seen by Jim. Jim was very present in the moment. There was a lot to do, but he was very present in the moment. So I learned about being a present leader at Costco. And then I went to go work at Macy's. And during a short 3-year stint at Macy's, I used what I learned at Costco about seeing people, about being a present leader, about identifying kind of the purpose that each person had at work. And I think that was the very first time that purpose at work became a thing for me. After 3 years at Macy's, I got recruited by CVS Pharmacies. I knew nothing about pharmacies. I knew nothing about healthcare. And they recognized this gift for me to be able to connect people. And really what I was able to do was connect people to their purpose at work every single day. I realized all of a sudden, all of these memories from my childhood of all of these different things, there was these moments of significance that I wanted those to happen in the lives of others. And so I decided I was going to start a consulting company, call it Purpose Point. I was going to help individuals rediscover what their purpose is and help organizations remember what their founding purpose was, and to connect those two things.
Davin was giving talks about company purpose and how companies can fulfill their purpose by stewarding their people well. And he met Kurt David through C12.
Kurt David was traveling talking about individual purpose as a former athlete, and I was traveling talking about organizational purpose. I thought, hey, you know what? Maybe Purpose Point isn't supposed to be my thing. Maybe Purpose Point is supposed to be this place where individual purpose and organizational purpose connect.
And so they kind of decided to come together and say, hey, why don't we just bring the conversation to us? And that was when they founded the Purpose Summit.
Have day one focused on individual purpose, have day two focused on organizational purpose, and create the platform for all of these speakers to share their stories and invite people and companies to come to the conversation. We end up borrowing a repurposed 157,000 square foot historic school building, and 300 people come together for this conversation, and it was absolutely transformative. And at the end of the conversation, one of the people in the audience came up to me and they started telling me about all of the things that happened in their life, and they didn't know why they had happened. They had spent their entire life questioning all of those things that happened. And it was at this moment at the summit, it had all come together for them, and they'd realized that all of those purpose points that had happened on their life had led to this moment of where they were at in their career at a particular time. And it was in that moment that I realized that all of the things that had happened in my life, from the divorce to the move to Michigan, to the job changes, to starting Purpose Point, to all these things led to this moment of that this is what God wanted me to do. He wanted me to see people, to see their purpose, to see God's plan. Little did I know from that point forward, it would take this thing from an idea in a blighted school building repurposed in Detroit to the University of Notre Dame at Notre Dame Stadium.
Through his experiences and through his faith journey, he was able to take those experiences and say there is a better way to love and lead people.
Each one of us has gifts, and sometimes we're not aware of what they are. Sometimes people tell us that we're good at something, but we don't believe it. And we dismiss that, and that thing is the gift that we were meant to give to the world. It's the reason that God put us here. It's our purpose, it's our contribution. And I think so many CEOs are so focused on the deliverables and the results of their business, and those are important. But the reality is the greatest purpose of any business is our people, and the greatest role of any leader, of any CEO, is to steward those people, to see them for who they are, to see them to who they can be, to see the purpose that God has for them and their organization, and how their organization can help those people become who God created them to be. We have had many, many moments that have been Purpose Point moments for us that we've looked at and said, okay, why is this happening, God? What is it that you're doing? But we can now look back and see how he used each one of those moments for a purpose greater than we could have possibly imagined for ourselves.